What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Stats with Evan, and I'm here to preview this week's 3-game series between my Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins. Let's get it popping. So coming into this week, the Nationals are 42-41, the Marlins are 32-50. Washington is 3rd in the NL East, Miami is 5th. There is a 9.5 game difference between the two. The Nationals are 22-17 in division play, the Marlins are 14-26. This past weekend, the Nationals won 2 out of 3 in Detroit. The Marlins won 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. Now here's what you need to know about the two teams going into this weekend. This is the 4th of 6 series between the Nationals and the Marlins. Washington leads the season series 7-3, and the Nats are outscoring the Fish in the series by a count of 59-42. The Nationals can clinch the season series with a sweep this week, and they're going up against the Marlins team that is 5-4 in their last 9 games, and all 5 wins were against the Phillies. So, Philly was good. Y'all can't beat the Marlins? Moving on. This is the last divisional series for the Nationals before the All-Star break, but this is not the case for the Marlins as they go to Atlanta after this. Now, this is a 6-game homestand for the Nats, and they need to go at least 3-3 to secure a winning record going into the All-Star break. And on this homestand, it's 3 games with the Marlins and 3 games with the Royals. So let's talk about the starters for this series. Tonight, the Marlins are sending out Zach Gallen. Gallen is 0-1 with a .360 ERA. In his last start, he went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 3 runs, walked 2, struck out 8, but he took the loss as the Marlins lost to the Nationals 7-5. The Nats are countering with Patrick Corbin. Corbin is 7-5 with a .371 ERA, and now here's his stats from that game. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, walked 1, struck out 9, and he walked out of there with a dub. Wednesday is when starters start to make their last starts before the All-Star break, and I know I said the word start a lot, but for the Marlins, they're going to send out their All-Star, Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara is 4-7 with a .386 ERA. In his last start, he went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits, 6 runs, walked 1, struck out 1, but he took the loss as the Marlins lost to the Nationals 8-5. The Nats are countering with Steven Strasburg. Strasburg is 9-4 with a .388 ERA, and here's his stats from that 8-5 Nationals win. 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, 4 runs, walked nobody, struck out 4, and left with the dub. In the series finale on the 4th of July, the Marlins are sending out Elizar Hernandez. Hernandez is 1-2 with a .407 ERA. In his last start, he went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, walked 2, struck out 7, and he took the win as the Marlins beat the Phillies 6-2. The Nationals are countering with former Marlin Anibal Sanchez. Sanchez is 4-6 with a .382 ERA. In his last start, he went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, 1 run, walked 1, struck out 8, and he took the win as the Nationals won 3-1 in Detroit. Now here's how the Nationals can win this series. The Washington Nationals are coming off a taking care of business road trip in which they went 5-1 in Miami and Detroit. And with the top 2 teams in the NL East, the Phillies and the Braves, going head-to-head in Atlanta this week, Washington must once again handle business against a division foe in the Miami Marlins. The Nats know the Fish, but saying this is a double-edged sword, more on that in a minute. But all things considered, the Nationals are glad to be back home in a ballpark that doesn't believe in 400-foot flyouts. And if Washington continues to stay focused and the bullpen pitches like they did Friday in Detroit, the Nationals have a serious chance to gain ground on the Phillies or the Braves this week, possibly even both. So that was how the Nationals can win this series, but now let's look at how the Marlins can win it. Remember when I said the whole this team knows that team argument is a double-edged sword? This is what I mean. The Nationals and the Marlins have played each other 10 times this season, so while it is true that the Nats know the Marlins, it is also true that the Marlins know the Nats. Any argument about the Nats knowing how to pitch to Marlins hitters and hit Marlins pitchers could easily be flipped to show the Marlins also know how to combat the Nats' bats and arms. This is why I will not use the player knows team or team knows team arguments when I start up my NFL predictions in September, so by the way, look out for those, and I will also be doing NFL team previews in a couple weeks when training camp starts up. Anyway, back to the Nats and the Marlins. The whole player knows team knows team argument is a moot point, and that's the point I'm just wrapping up now. If you don't believe me, here's proof. The Nationals are 1-2 against the Marlins this season when Max Scherzer pitches. That's not relevant to this series and Scherzer is not pitching, but it does drive home the point of familiarity doesn't mean anything. Additionally, series like these are like the Marlins World Series because Miami doesn't have any playoff aspirations for this season, so it would mean the world to them if they could throw a team like the Braves, the Phillies, or in this case the Nationals just completely off track. So Miami can win this series by capitalizing on Nats' mistakes and hitting the front end of Washington's bullpen hard. So now here's my overall thoughts on the series. This is a great chance for the Nationals to gain ground in the NL East and wildcard races, with the aforementioned Phillies-Braves series in Atlanta and the Rockies facing an Astros team that is one of the best in the American League. As we get closer to the All-Star break, I find it funny how half the Nats schedule was flooded with the Mets, Marlins, and Phillies. They played 4 with New York, 4 with Philadelphia, and this is the 4th time they've seen Miami. But we won't be seeing too much more of these guys when we get back from the All-Star break. Instead, we should start to get familiar with the name Atlanta Braves because the Nats still have 4 series with Atlanta remaining in this season. 14 games total. As for this series against the Marlins, a sweep would mean 2 things for the Nationals. First, as I said earlier, a sweep would officially give the Nats the season series over the Fish, and second, a sweep would guarantee Washington goes to the All-Star break with a winning record, which is huge considering how the Nats were 12 games under 500 at one point just about a little bit over a month ago. Now, however, all this being said, don't mark this series down as an automatic sweep yet, because the Marlins are playing the role of pests, and they play this role well. Just ask the Phillies. I like the Nationals' chances in this series, but I wasn't overly thrilled with how they played in Detroit. They only scored a total of 10 runs in that series, and the bullpen imploded again on Saturday, so essentially they won the series, but they didn't really do much to win it. However, all things considered, I'll say the Nats take 2 out of 3. So what do y'all think? Who's taking this series? Is it the Nationals or the Marlins? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, I'm Stats with Evan, and I hope you have a 100% day. See y'all later.